Welcome back to Epic Exchanges, another in our series of children's book authors. And I love that we are having such a wide variety of topics. And I'm super excited to welcome my friend Kathy. We've known each other for a while now, close to 20 years. But Kathy has a great real story that you put into a children's book format, and I can't wait for you to share it. So, Kathy, welcome. Why don't you introduce yourself for the audience?
Well, my name is Kathy Schendt, and I have a husband and two adult sons, and we live in Wisconsin. Um, I had never written a children's book before, but I was really moved to write this one, and I've really enjoyed the entire process, and it's been a good experience for me.
Right. Now, I think we can tell the audience that your book is about your dog that recently you lost, which
Mhm.
is very sad. But can you explain why you decided to tell your dog's story in a children's book format?
So to go back to the beginning of my dog Miracle's life, she was born a little over 11 years ago to a breeder here in Wisconsin, and she was a singleton, which means she was the only puppy in her litter. So she was special to start off with, and it's just very unusual for golden retrievers to have a singleton. But in the birth process, unfortunately, she inhaled birth fluids and she developed a massive double lung infection. And she was in the ICU for the first 3 weeks of her life. And the veterinarian really wasn't quite sure this puppy was going to make it, but she pulled through, and the breeders named her Miracle. And they were going to keep her as a show dog because she came from championship lines at Westminster and in Texas. When she was about 2 months old, they know she had a funny walk. She kind of wiggled when she walked. And so they took her back to the vet and had her hips x-rayed and found out she was born without a left hip joint.
Mm.
So they couldn't keep her as a show dog because she had a fault, which we all do. And so they reached out to my husband Bill and I and asked if we would take her. And we most certainly we hadn't had a dog in almost 9 years, but we thought, well, our kids are out of the nest and we could give this dog a good home. So fast forward, she got really healthy, walking, swimming. But in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, with her story of survival from the very moment she was born, she'd be such a great therapy dog to share those gifts that she was given to survive with everybody else. Now, as a little puppy, she had no manners at all, as puppies do. They don't. And we didn't get her until she was 3 months old. She was kind of a little spoiled, but that was okay. So we taught her manners, of course, and went through all the steps. And we went through puppy obedience, adult obedience, canine good citizenship, and then we went through the therapy dog training. And she sailed through it, and she just excelled. And she, over the almost 7.5 years of therapy dog work she did, she volunteered almost 3,000 hours. Um, and she just loved it. I mean, every time we get her little blue vest out, she'd spin in circles and she was so excited. We mainly went to schools, hospitals, hospice, places like that. But back in 2022, when they had the Uvalde, Texas school shooting, my husband and I both looked at each other and we thought, we have a therapy dog and we're retired. We need to do something to help. We can't just sit here anymore. We'd stayed basically in the state of Wisconsin, but we made all the arrangements and we drove the 22 hours down to Texas with Miracle. And so we were down there for a week and a half, and she helped those kids so much. There were some kids that were survivors of that shooting that really would not talk to anybody, counselors, but they talked to Miracle. And Miracle's fur absorbed many, many, many tears. Um, and then that was in August of 2022 when we went down there. It was the beginning of the school year because we thought we could help those kids, you know, get back to school. And then we also went back in May of 2023 at the end of the school year, and we had seen the progress these kids had made. Unfortunately, we also in 2024 we went to Perry, Iowa for another school shooting. We were there 3 times, and Miracle worked her magic. But in all this course of time, it was just fascinating to see because we're attached to her by her leash. The smiles, kids would just relax when they would be petting her and talking to her. And unfortunately, because we were so close with the leash, we could hear a lot of the stories they were telling her, and it was tough. But Miracle absorbed all those words and tears, and it was just a good process. And then, unfortunately, December 11th of 2024, she passed very suddenly, undetected cancer. That it was just very sudden. And even before that, I thought, Miracle has done so many good things, and it's not only a good lesson for all of us, but especially children. In today's world, children need to learn the gifts of kindness, hope, love, and patience. And those are all the things that Miracle represented and gave. And those are all the things that she received to survive as a little puppy. So I decided to write a children's book, just to keep her message of those things alive forever, even though she's not physically here. But it is a children's book, but I always tell people, I think everybody should read this book because we could all learn a lesson from what Miracle did.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons I like to focus on children's book authors is because I think the best children's books teach something to children, yes, but also to adults. The simple truths that we need to be reminded of, that we need, sometimes we haven't learned,
Right.
or we need to learn how to discuss them, describe them, explain them to kids, because children's books bring it down to the basics that kids can understand. And so I had another author share about instead of a 300-page self-help book, you read a 30-page kids book and you get the same simplified tips and tricks, and you can actually apply things really quickly and really easily instead of wading through a 300-page book over the course of how many months, because they're harder to read. They're
Yeah.
not as fun.
Well, and they take a lot of time, which is okay, but a children's book, when it's condensed down, not only is the adult who's hopefully reading this book to the children, they're reading those words, they're seeing the pictures of all the things, but also they're listening as well. They're hearing it. And we all need to be more kind. I mean, this world needs more kindness, and that's what this book represents.
Exactly. I love that. And thank you for sharing Miracle's story with us, just from the point that you got her, or even before that. Um, why? When you discovered or decided that Miracle could give back, what does the therapy dog training, all of that, was there specific qualities that Miracle had? If so, and to extrapolate that, if someone is thinking their dog is extremely patient and kind, and I don't know what all the qualities that you're going to say are, but whatever they might be, like what steps would they take to see if their dog would make a good therapy dog as well?
The trainer we went through told us that absolutely not every dog can be a therapy dog. So again, you have to go through a puppy obedience class and pass that, an adult obedience class. You need to get your canine good citizenship certificate, and that's another series of classes because those classes um, kind of make you look at your dog and think, do they have the qualities? The trainer's looking at the dog. All the training is not just the dog, it's the human too, because we're the handlers. And so we're taking our dogs everywhere. So we're not only evaluating the dog, but also the human handlers. And once you've gotten through those steps, um, there are many good therapy dog training programs around the world. And we chose one here in Wisconsin, that had good reviews, and we knew lots of people that had gone through it. And so then we did the training with that. And the therapy dog training is basically getting used to like pots and pans dropping on the floor, sudden noises, or a wheelchair, walking next to a wheelchair, just going into different environments. One of the training sessions, we went to a jail. And the doors clanging, shut, and just making sure the dogs are calm. We went through using an elevator and escalators, marble floors that are slippery. So we did lots of different environmental things, and all those things added together, then she became a certified therapy dog. But like I said, not every dog can do it, but many can.
I keep thinking of this. I think it was a cartoon that I saw that had a dog going up to upset people. And the upset people had like black clouds over them, or they were colored darkly or something. And as they spent time, whether the dog was at their feet and or they were petting it or hugging it or whatever it was, the dog took the darkness away and took it on. And so I keep thinking about when you talked about Miracle absorbing so many stories and tears, especially from like kids from school shootings and things, that trauma that Miracle absorbed. Um, I believe the cartoon would show that as the dog like played and was around their loved ones, the cloud disappeared and they went back to normal without passing it on to their loved ones. But for me, that was such a good picture. And I think even of my dog, as I'm saying this, when I was upset, he knew and he was like there. And like he could be playing and I'd be upset and he would like come over and look at me and then he'd jump up beside me or get on my lap or something. And yeah, that whole like, you don't even notice how it's making you feel better. And I just think of when you say Miracle absorbed these things, that's the picture in my head that I get.
So when we would go back to especially after a tough, session, like in a school shooting situation, we go back to our hotel room and Miracle would crash and she would sleep, because she was just, she loved what she did, but she was just trying to kind of, rest and everything. But there's one example I put in the book, that part of the training, we went to a memory care unit and there was a lady in a wheelchair in the corner of the room and her eyes were open, but she wasn't really responding to anything. And Miracle never ever pulled when she had her harness and leash on, her vest. And she kind of started tugging me a little bit to go over to see that woman, and the nurses kept saying, she's not going to respond to you. I mean, just please don't worry about it. And Miracle, I could just feel it that she wanted to go over there. And so we thought, well, it's not going to hurt. So Miracle went over and she put her head on the woman's lap, and the woman started petting her head. And the people in the nurses were crying. I was crying. Um, Dogs know, and it's amazing to watch. Um, the other example, when you're saying how they know, dogs know when you're feeling sad. We volunteered every Friday at a hospice center here in Wisconsin, and Miracle, she did that for over 7 years. And when we would go into a patient's room, her routine was, she'd be on leash and she'd walk over to the patient in the bed. If they're awake, they would talk to her, whatever. And then she'd greet the other people in the room, the loved ones, the nurses, or whatever. And then she'd come and lay down next to me where I was standing, and I would tell her story. But there were some times that she would walk into the room and she would lay down on the floor right away and put her head on her paws. And I was like, the first couple times she did that, I was like, Miracle, come on. And it was within 24 hours that patient passed. So
Wow.
it was almost like she was, um, almost like praying, knowing that this woman or man was going to pass, but she never failed. I mean, it was like she knew every single time. I mean, when we'd come in onto the ward, um, sometimes the nurses would say, could you let us know her reaction in room 5? And there was a man that they said, well, it'll be that day probably. We went in and Miracle greeted the man who was just sleeping, everyone in the room, and the nurses were like, no. And he lived 3 more days. So,
So Miracle kind of became the early warning system
yeah.
for the staff.
But it was amazing. It was amazing to watch. At first, it kind of was, I didn't understand, but then I realized that she just knew, and you can't teach that. A dog just senses it,
Yeah.
just like your dog sensed when you were sad or something.
Yeah. Yeah, and my dog like just more gentle with kids, which not all dogs are, but many are.
Yeah.
I mean, and they'll take stuff from the young kids that don't know any better, the
Mhm.
pulling of the ears or the tail or whatever that they wouldn't take from a teen, right?
Yeah.
Smart that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about Miracle Story. Are you willing to share the book with us?
Absolutely. I need
Awesome.
to put my glasses on
Okay.
though. This is the book. It's called Gifts Are Meant to Be Shared, The Story of Miracle, the Therapy Dog. I'm a golden retriever named Miracle. I got my name because I became very sick shortly after I was born. My caregivers never lost hope though, and through lots of love and care, I defied the odds and made a full recovery. Soon, my doctor discovered that I was also born without a left hip joint. Everyone wondered how I ever learned to walk. Another reason my name suits me perfectly. Once I was old enough, I went to live with a loving couple. I was a little wild at first, so they patiently taught me good manners. They took me on fun walks and to weekly swim sessions to build up my muscles. All of that exercise made my whole body so strong. So this is a picture of my husband and myself 11 years ago, and obviously I have different hair color. But that's how fluffy and little she was. My family noticed how much I loved connecting with people and bringing them joy. They believed I had a special purpose to become a therapy dog. I was so excited. Through hope, patience, kindness, and love, I had been able to grow up and enjoy a full, happy life. Now I would be able to share those gifts with others. My training was fun and rewarding. I learned to behave well in public, walk calmly on a leash, and respond to commands. My family was so proud of me. I was becoming a confident and capable dog, ready to make a positive impact on the world. As I grew older, my training became more intense. My family taught me how to navigate through crowded spaces, remain calm in noisy environments, and interact with people of all ages. I learned to walk beside a wheelchair, gently nudge a person's hand with my nose, and provide comfort to those who needed it. My tail wagged with excitement every time I put on my blue vest, which signaled that it was time to go to work. I was a bit nervous the first time I visited a hospital, but my family reassured me that I was ready. I visited a young boy who was recovering from an illness, and he smiled when I put my head on his lap. I met an elderly woman who was feeling lonely, and she stroked my fur, tears of joy in her eyes. With each visit, I realized that my purpose was not just to bring joy, but also to provide comfort to those who needed it most. When these patients heard about how I survived illness as a puppy and gone on to have a great life, they received the gift of hope. I also visited people in nursing homes who were trying to become well enough to go home. My family would tell them my story, and that would motivate them to exercise more. Sometimes I would sit next to them during their therapy work, using the gift of patience to encourage them. Visiting schools was always a highlight as I got to meet children of all ages and backgrounds. I loved being able to help them feel more at ease. I would sit quietly as they read to me, and a gentle nuzzle or a wag of my tail could bring a smile to their faces. Through the gift of kindness, I was able to provide comfort. Many of the kids we visited asked if I had a picture to share with them. My family then had cards made and handed them out to anyone who asked. They were a big hit. So far, over 5,000 people have taken my picture home with them. I was so happy that all these people wanted to keep a memory of our time together. I felt like I was truly making a difference. One of my favorite days was when my family took me to a memory care unit. There was a lady in a wheelchair in the corner of the room, and I really wanted to visit her. The nurses said she wouldn't respond to anyone, but when I walked over and gently put my head on her lap, she started petting me. She responded to the gift of love. Moments like these made all the training and hard work worthwhile. I was making a difference, and that knowledge filled me with joy. My tail would wag excitedly every time we arrived at a new location. I couldn't wait to meet the people there and bring some happiness into their lives. Looking back, I can see that the challenges I faced as a young pup gave me an opportunity. They led me to become a therapy dog, and I can't imagine doing anything else. Everyone can be a miracle to someone else. Please remember to be kind, give hope, be patient, and show love to those all around you. We all have these gifts, and they are all meant to be shared.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. It makes you smile. It, yeah, it makes me think of all the dogs I've known, which
Mhm.
is lovely. I'm curious about, I know it's only been recently that you've published the book. How far has it made it throughout your world and through Miracle's world thus far?
It's amazing because, you know, like I said, Miracle met so many people in her 11 years of living, and she changed so many people's lives, made them feel better, whatever. So she has her Facebook page. It's Francis's Miracle, Francis apostrophe Miracle. And so I shared this on her Facebook page, and I had people from all over the world reaching out saying, "Where can I get this book?" I remember seeing this post of Miracle because anytime she would do something, I would post it on her Facebook page. So the book, like I said, it's wonderful because she did so many wonderful things, but because of this book, she's going to continue to do wonderful things because not only the gifts of all these things, but we're also donating all the proceeds to charity. We're not taking any money for this book at all. The proceeds are going to charities in Uvalde, Texas, where the school shooting was, Perry, Iowa, the other school shooting, and Golden Retriever Rescue of Wisconsin, because we've helped them a lot. Um, it's in fact the main picture on her book. We went to a golden retriever rescue event 2 months before she passed, and they had a professional photographer there, and they said, well, it's not that expensive to have her picture taken. So we thought, oh, okay, she's never done that before, but that's why we have the picture on her of the book, and so it was kind of meant to be. And I'm so glad I have those pictures of her. I mean, I have lots and lots of pictures, but I always tell people I have more pictures of Miracle than my own children. So
I bet your kids love that.
I know. They're older, so.
Great.
But it's just nice because we're going down to Uvalde in 3 weeks. And we're having a book signing down there, and all the proceeds will go to those 2 days are there directly to Uvalde. We're going back to Perry, Iowa in October, and same thing. And then we're also having some book signings in the state of Wisconsin, and those days, all those proceeds will go to those charities. And that way she keeps giving her gift.
Yeah. Giving far beyond the
Yes,
scope of her life here on earth,
right.
which is amazing. And I love that you have given her a life beyond that and you're sharing her legacy so that other people can pick up the same mantle.
And it's been therapy for me.
Mm.
She passed suddenly 7 months ago, and that's what helped me, kind of grieve and get through this, because I could focus on all the positive things she did and not just that one bad day.
Yeah.
So that
So
was
true.
good too.
So we will share the Facebook page with our listeners so they can find it. But how can people find the book?
It is available on Amazon.com. And again, it's called Gifts Are Meant to Be Shared. And if you put my name, which is kind of bizarre because this is my first book, if you put Kathy Schendt in a search engine on Amazon, the book comes up. Who knew?
It's
So
as easy as that.
it is. But I've been thrilled how the book sales have gone just because Miracle will continue to help people with all the proceeds of these books going to charity, which I'm very happy about too.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love so much of that. And having followed your journey from when you first got Miracle and pictures of her with the Christmas tree and with your boys and your grandson
Yeah,
and stuff like that, it's fun to see it continue on even though she has left you and your home.
exactly.
So
And some people had asked, are you going to have illustrations or pictures? And I said, I think for kids' books, they can relate more to a picture of a dog. And so the book is filled with pictures. I mean, like I said, I have so many pictures of her, but I think that the kids enjoy it that way too. And
I
also,
meant to say how much I love that you're using actual pictures of Miracle with you guys. I'm
mhm,
assuming you didn't show us all the pictures, but with some, maybe like in front of some of the places that she visited, if not with people, because,
yeah.
you'd need waivers for a lot of that, but
Well, and I was very selective. I chose pictures that the kids, you couldn't see their faces and everything. They're not blurred, but we cropped up so you
yeah,
couldn't. And then I did have to get a lot of photo releases for people because there were some great pictures of people in the nursing facilities that I had to get photo releases for, but that was okay. I mean, two of the patients, elderly patients had passed, so I had to reach out to their loved ones, and they were thrilled because they had loved Miracle's visits with their loved ones at the nursing home. So it was kind of like their stories were continuing on too.
Yeah, and fun for them to see their loved ones almost immortalized in the pages of this book as well. So,
Exactly, exactly.
so many great things for so many people. Thank you for writing the book and for sharing a miracle story with so many more beyond those she already touched in her life. So,
Thank you.
I look forward to tons more people finding the book and actually being inspired to see where their dogs could take them and
Exactly.
in terms of helping others, because I do believe this is going to be paid forwards in exponentially. So,
I
and I
agree.
hope to hear about that. I hope that people, if you're listening and you get the book and you're inspired, but in any way by Kathy's story and Miracle story, reach out and let her know because
Absolutely.
I know for me it means so much when someone reaches out because they got their hands on my book or a book, a story, and that it has impacted them in some small way. It just makes it all worth it.
In the first page of the book with the all the information, there is my email address. So if anyone who wants to send me a direct email, that's totally fine. Or you can go to Francis's Miracle Facebook page and reach out through messaging that way too.
Perfect. Well, I encourage everybody to do that when they read Miracle Story and they're inspired to do something in terms of hope, kindness, patience, and love, because we
Absolutely.
need more of that in this world. Thank you, Kathy, for coming on
Thank
and
you.
sharing the story, and so good to reconnect with you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kelly.